Hello, today we welcome a fighter, Par Laval, to the Health Stories podcast. Diagnosed with aggressive breast cancer at 48, Par endured surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. Amidst treatment, life threw another challenge, losing a long-time career and the health insurance that goes with it. But faith never wavered. Still undergoing treatment, Par continues to trust in God through every step. Join us as we hear this powerful journey of resilience and hope. Par, I want to welcome you to the Health Stories podcast. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. I am blessed. I am thankful, and I'm so happy to be here.
Nice. I'm happy you're here. I can see through your window. I know you're in Florida. It's good weather, right?
It is hot today. It's 83 degrees, but the
Mm,
weather is nice.
yeah. I'm here in Texas and the cool lingers, which is very unusual, but we appreciate it. Um,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm glad to meet you in this space, and I really appreciate the fact you've always been willing to share your stories. I follow your channel on TikTok, and we appreciate how you find it important to share and encourage others
Thank you.
along the way, right?
Thank you so much. Thank
Right.
you.
All right, let's talk about life. Let's begin with life before cancer. So could you share a little about your life before your diagnosis? What were some of the things that brought you joy or define who you were?
Well, life before cancer, that's a big one. I was a working single mom with two kids, working, as they say, the 9 to 5, and doing the hustle and bustle, making sure my kids were well fed, working really hard to maintain. I mean, my job that I had was I was very successful in it. I was paid very well, but my joy came from my children, and we did the things that normal people do: go to church and do a little travel here and there. So life was actually good. I
Nice.
can't complain. It was good.
I like to get personal. Can you tell us how many children and perhaps names? You know?
I do. I call them grown adults. I call them grown humans. I have a son. He's 26. He'll be
Mm,
27 in July. And then I have my daughter. She's 23, who's getting ready to graduate from Berry University,
nice.
degree in forensic psychology. And
Mm,
so, yeah. So,
all
and
right.
her name is Shamaya. So my son name is Shamar, and my daughter name is Shamaya.
Shamai. Hi, Shamai. I'm sure you'll be
Yes.
listening to this episode sometime. Now, from our previous conversation, I learned that you worked with AT&T for 24 years. You
Yes.
know, how did that chapter of life shape who you are or who you were, perhaps? Because I know cancer has taken a toll, but we'll talk more about that.
It shaped me to be a well-rounded person because with AT&T, they were very rigorous in, coming into work late and different things like that. So it shaped me to be a on-time person,
Mm,
independent, a go-getter. I was in sales and for many years, and it allowed me to represent who I was as a person. So it shaped me to be hardcore, as my kids would tell me, because it have to be, especially in life. So I'm very thankful for what was imparted in me. I had a lot of different different journeys with AT&T, doing management, doing developments and stuff like that. So I would never look at AT&T as anything but grateful because it was an amazing opportunity for the years
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. You know, I ask you those questions to start because, you know, our life, it, we're more than cancer. We're more than what people think we are. And so I wanted to get a feel of your time before this dreaded diagnosis. And can you take us to the moment then when you first learned of your diagnosis and what went through your mind in that moment?
Absolutely. Actually, I was the one that found the lump. I was actually taking a shower. So I'm very big on ladies being to do self-exam. I
Mm-hmm.
felt the lump. I wasn't too concerned, but I went to my doctor and she felt it and she asked me, did I do my mammogram? Because I go to two different doctors. And I said to her, because I'm always, yeah, I did it. So she was like, well, if they did it and everything was fine, why don't you? We're going to send you to do an ultrasound. I said, okay, no problem. When I got to the location, they was like, Miss Levell, you didn't do your mammogram this year. I'm like, mammogram, because I'm very dramatic. And so I was like, well, let's go and do both. And so when I actually did both, they were within minutes of each other, within like 45 minutes of each other. I did an ultrasound and a mammogram. On my way home, I got a phone call that there was something.
Mm-hmm.
And it paused me for a second. And I had to do it was a phone call and she told me I had to do a biopsy. And so I was like, okay, but still not concerned because, my daughter kind of went through something a little bit earlier where she had felt some lumps in her breast and she
Mm-hmm.
had to do a biopsy. So I'm thinking maybe it's the same type of situation. It's just a lump, it's a bump or whatever. So I ended up doing the biopsy. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my kids. I didn't tell my mom. I told no one. I went and did the biopsy and I had to wait about 2 weeks, still working at AT&T. At this point, I'm starting to get a little nervous because why is it taking so long?
Right.
Why is it taking so long? Because when my daughter did it, she found out within 24 hours, everything
Mm-hmm.
was fine. And so I'm at work, not really able to focus at work because I'm kind of nervous, but I'm not trying to be too nervous because you don't want to put fear in something that you don't even know. And so, yeah. So
A
about
few
two
days
weeks,
later. That's a few days
no,
later.
two
Longer.
weeks, like 2 weeks.
2 weeks
It was
later.
2 weeks.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I'm really trying to manage not telling my kids and still working and still trying to
Mm-hmm.
wait for this phone call to say, hey, everything is fine. And so when I end up getting the phone call, it was my primary care doctor. She asked me, was I home? I was home at the time. She asked me, was I sitting down? Before she can say it, I knew. And so she said, Miss Lavelle, I'm 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 so sorry. And
Mm-hmm.
when she said the C word, my daughter was actually there. I took the phone and threw it and I ran out the door. And my daughter, I could hear her picking up the phone and she was giving my daughter information and different things like that. And so when I came back in the house, I was crying. And my daughter was like, yes, 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 yes. And so at that point, um, my daughter hung up the phone. She hugged me and she says, Mom, you have to go and do another see a oncologist. You hear oncologists, but you're not really understanding like, okay, what the full ram it was. So I
Right.
end up going, so from that day, I end up going very quickly to the oncologist that she referred me to. And when I went in, the doctor saw me and he confirmed that yes, it was because she's just a primary care doctor. She only gonna get based on what was given
Right.
to her. But the oncologist was actually the one that confirmed it. And so when he told me that, I got in my car and I sat down and oh my goodness. I called my mom and I called my son. No, I called my son and daughter and I told them to meet me to my mom's house.
Yeah.
And when my mom was like, "What's up?" I said, "I just need y'all to come to the house."
Mm-hmm.
And so she was like, "Is everything okay?" I said, "Mom, I'll see you when I get there." And it was a 15-minute drive. All along, I'm crying because I'm like, oh my goodness, my kids are, I don't call them kids, my children, they only have me. So I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? So anyway, I get to my mom's house and my son and my daughter they're already there. And my mom was like, what is going on? And I say to her, I've just been told that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. The room was quiet. The room was quiet. And so I said, I don't know everything. I just left the doctor. So my mom kind of got upset with me. What do you mean you just left the doctor? What do you? I said, Mom, I've done a biopsy. I've done
Like
all these
moms would do.
things. Yes,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to burden my mom if it wasn't nothing. because like
Yeah.
I said, my daughter kind of had like a similar situation, and it turned out to be nothing. So in my mind, all that time, I was thinking it would be nothing. But of course, as those 2 weeks was going by, I'm like, nah, it got to be something. So I never let her know anything. And the only reason my daughter kind of knew about the phone calls because she was there. And so my son, says to me, one of my best friends, she died at 45 from cancer. She had thyroid cancer. And he says to me, "Is it the same cancer?" I said, "No, son." I said, "It's breast cancer." He
Mm.
walked out the room. And then my mom was asking questions. "When did you find out? What stage it is?" I said, "Mom, I really don't know all that. I just left the doctor, and the doctor just told me it's breast cancer." My son walked back in the room and says, "Okay, so is it the same cancer?" He asked me the same question again
Yeah.
because he was afraid because my friend
Yeah.
died. She
Of
died from
course.
his cancer. And he says, "Mom, is it the same cancer as Miss Trina?" I said, "Son, no, it's not the same cancer." He walked out the room again. And my daughter was quiet because remember she took the phone call,
She
but
had
she
more
wasn't
information than they did. Yeah. Yeah.
but she wasn't expecting it to be a confirmed like this
All
is
right.
real for real because now I'm having everybody there. And so I finally told him, I'm like, "This is what it is. Now I have to go to a doctor to find out because at this time I'm not even understanding what doctor, how it's gonna look." So my emotions was really high, but my main concern was my children at the time.
Yeah.
So
So cancer has thrown your family in a spin, in a
yes,
quagmire, and everyone is really upset, a little bit panicking. They're concerned for mom, concerned for my daughter, and it's tough. No words to fully describe the emotions.
it was
And
no words because you hear it on TV and then you see people, kind of know people, but when it's in your face,
yeah,
it's a feeling or you really can't put it in words because you're scared, and then two, you like why me, and so it was. I couldn't even put it in words how I was feeling, but I knew I had to tell my children. And
yeah,
so when I was there, I told my mom, I'm like, "I'm not going to tell anybody. You have to tell your brothers." Two brothers. I have an older brother and a younger brother. In my mind, I'm like, I'm already overwhelmed. I don't really want to tell everybody. So she says, "No, you have to tell them." And so at this time, I was um with my group of friends. It's I think four of us, five of us, and they're all around the same age as me. I felt obligated to call them. I was like, "Listen, because it happened to me, because it was told to me that I was very young to have this particular
yeah,
cancer,
yeah,
that I need to call them." So I did a three-way. So I told them, I said, "Hey, we did a FaceTime." I said, "FaceTime. No, I'm sorry, we did a phone call. You call this person, you call this person." So by the time it was all five of us on the phone, and I explained to them, I said, "I don't want to talk about it. I just need to let you know this is what I just found out." It went crazy on the phone. But I didn't have the capacity to answer all the questions because one, I just found out, and two, I'm scared. And
so
so,
yeah, you had the burden of bearing the disease and also to communicate it with family members and close
right,
friends. That was difficult, right? So difficult.
very difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It's something to learn, and it's a lived experience. Each family deals with it differently. I guess the takeaway here is if we can get help in sharing it, it does help to share that burden.
Right.
Anyway, thanks for being so vulnerable and for telling
Thank
us
you.
as it was, as it is today. Um, can you talk a little bit about your treatment? And you also had surgery. Can
Yes.
you let us in on some of that?
So once I got the diagnosis, I end up my friend told me to get a second opinion. So I end up going to another surgeon. She was a black surgeon here in Primitive Pines. And she did her own testing and stuff like that. And then once they do their testing, they find out what type of cancer it is, what stage it is, what grade it is. And by that, that's when they determine what type of treatment you are going to go with,
Yeah,
because when you hear breast cancer, you're thinking it's just one type of breast cancer. But there are so many different levels of breast cancer, many different stages, so many different kinds of breast cancer. So when she did all her testing, she realized the type of breast cancer I needed. So I had to have surgery. I had surgery on April 13th of 2022. And from there, once I did the surgery, then I needed to meet up with my oncologist because there's a team. When you have something like this, it's not just one doctor. You have like 10 doctors, it seemed like. And so once the surgery was done, I
Yeah.
had to wait like a month to kind of heal. And then I met up with my oncologist and they did more testing to see how aggressive it was, different things like that, and the likelihood of it coming back. And so she said, we're going to have to do chemo. So I
Mm.
said, okay. So they prepared me for losing the hair. They prepared me for, the different things, how chemo was going to work. So I ended up getting 6 months of chemo, which
Mm.
is, I was getting around a treatment once a month, every
Mm.
3 weeks. And from there, and then there was a test that they did that showed the likelihood of it coming back. She said, Miss Levell, because my mom was there with me with everything, if these numbers come back with this certain numbers, then you're going to also have to do radiation. My numbers of likelihood of it coming back was 95%.
Oh.
The tears, the tears, the tears, the tears. It was so much information that, okay, there were days where my mom had to really listen to everything because it was like they were saying, dun, 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 dun. You know how I think it used to be Charlie Brown and
Yeah.
want hear it because it was
Yeah.
so overwhelming. And
Yeah.
so from there I did the chemo, and then they told me because of the likelihood of it coming back, I had to do 36 rounds of radiation.
Yeah. That's a lot. It's a lot. Surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. How about your side effects you experienced? How was it?
My side effects are so bad. Well, I don't even use the word bad anymore because God is so good. I have side effects of nausea. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, I have side effects of nausea, bone pain. My right side where they did radiation, I cannot move this arm because where she took out the lymph nodes and everything, it has frozen up. So I have a lot of scarring. I have how I'll say, I think I told you bone pain. So every day is a different day. But there are days when I can't even get out of bed. Even though I've
Mm.
had radiation and chemo and it's been at least a year now, there are days where I don't feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's never easy. It's never
No,
easy.
no, mm-mm.
And then there was life. And I'm gonna. I remember you saying you lost your job, so
Yes,
there were issues with insurance. Can you talk about
yes.
that?
Now this part makes me cry because you're with
Mm.
a company, and I was with AT&T literally half my life. I started very young, and you do your thing. I made them so much money. I made money, and we was just happy go lucky. We doing our thing. You doing you, and I'm doing me. And when my storm hit, is when you realize that you're
Mm.
just a number. I mean, you know you're a number, but when it really hits you in the face, you really know you're a number. So when I had to go out for my surgery because I couldn't work because at this time I was a trainer. And so when training we would travel. So I couldn't travel because I needed to
Yeah.
be close to do my procedures, my blood work, my it was like I probably did about 150 procedures in 2 months. That's how much
Mm.
I was going to the
Mm.
doctor. And me being out, they did some shifting with AT&T with the shift that they were doing, they were saying, oh, we don't need as many trainers as we need, the case may be. And if you're not an asset, then you become a liability. And
Yeah.
because I'm out, even though I gave you 24 years, I don't won all these awards. I've won everything that's imaginable. I don't been through all kind of the programs that you guys put me through and paid for because you saw the greatness in me. But when I needed you, you was like, well, I'm assuming since she's out, we don't know when she's coming back. So let's go ahead and let her go. And so at that time, I was still going through chemo. And when I tell you, I think I lost my mind in 2023. I know I did. No, I lost my mind in 2023 because I couldn't understand. I went to my mom and I was like, what am I going to do? I have no insurance. I need my insurance. How can I go through this? But let me tell you how good God is. Let me tell you how good God
I
is.
could just put my placard up, but I'll leave that for another time, you know?
Yo, who up?
I'm messing around here. My placard about AT&T and T and
Oh,
laying
oh,
you off. At my activist side, but it's fine.
yeah.
We'll tell us
Everybody was
how
like,
good God is.
yeah,
Yeah,
listen, everybody was like, you need to sue AT&T and T and all that because why would they let you go when you are, listen, when you are private sector, they could do what they want to do.
right.
But let me just show you how good God is. So I end up going to my oncologist's office and I was like, Lori, I don't have no insurance. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's like, oh, don't worry about that. We got you because you need your treatment. And in my mind, I'm saying, yes, I need my treatment. But I didn't know. I know how good God is, but let me tell you, when He show up and show out for you, you like, wow, it blows your mind.
Right.
So I end up getting a phone call, like I think about 2 days later after I had did my treatment. Hi, Miss Levell. This is such and such. To this day, I do not know the name of this organization. And she says, we got your number from the oncology department, and they told us that you may need us. So she said,
Mhm.
share with me what's going on. Okay, I got cancer. I got this. This is what's going on, whatever. So she said, oh, they said that you lost your insurance. I said, yes, ma'am. I am so nervous. I don't know what to do. So she says to me, okay. So she says, we're an organization. And again, I do not remember this name of this organization because I was just overwhelmed. She said, what we do is we help you out. She says, I'm going to send your information over to our group. And if you get approved, I will let you know. And if you
Mhm.
don't get approved, I'll also let you know. She said, it takes like a couple of weeks, but I'll let you know. I'm like, oh, okay. The very
Okay.
next day, the very next day, the very next day, I get a phone call from her. Hey, Miss Levell, this is such, such, such. I just want to let you know you have been approved. I don't even know why I was there. I just started shouting. God, because and still at this time, I still don't know what they do as far as everything. I've never had the Obamacare, the Health Gov insurance. So she
Right.
started because I've always had private insurance through my company.
Hmm.
She says, Miss Levell, the way it works is that we're with the she didn't use the government health care. We select a plan. You tell us the plan that you had with your previous job, and we try to match because we want to make sure that your doctors are covered. I said, okay. So I told her who I had, and so she says, and not only that, we're gonna pay your premium for you.
Hmm. Hmm. Praise Him. Uh, yeah.
And when she did everything, took all my information, and when I found out what my insurance was costing through them, it was $1,500. I didn't have to pay a dollar.
Mm.
Nobody can tell me how good God is.
Amen.
Nobody, because in my midst, I thought I was going to lose my mind because I was like, how am I going to do this? But when I tell you, when you trust Him, when you know Him, when He is so good, He worked it out where it blew my mind. It blew my mind.
So here evidence of God's provisions, right?
Hmm.
With finance. Did that bring some comfort that God truly got this? And yes, the finances, but also your healing.
Um, I, I'm a preacher's daughter, so I've always, as we say, know God. But I'm gonna say this: the relationship with God. What I didn't have a personal relationship with Him. I know Him. I went to church, but you have to have something what is called your
Yeah.
personal relationship, an intentional relationship with Him. And so for me, not that He had to do that to make my open up my eyes, but it was just that he was showing himself where it got my attention, like it blew my mind. And I knew that if I was going to get through this, it had to be through him. It
Mm.
can't be through men, can't be through a job, it can't be through even my children, even my mom. As much as she loved me, she couldn't bring me through this. She couldn't do what he did for me. And so for me, it brought a sense of comfort that when I started leaning on him, that I started getting a little bit of peace, a little bit of peace, just a little bit. And every day, because, to sit here and say, well, as soon as it happened, I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Well,
Yeah.
not for me, it didn't.
Yeah.
And so God kept showing this stuff to me like, I got you, I got you, I got you, I got you. And every day he kept saying, I got you. I kept saying, thank you. And I kept holding on and getting closer and closer to him. So,
Yeah. And it gives you, it collects you together. You can see where you are in life. You understand your situation a little better, and you have hope for tomorrow. And I think that's what
absolutely.
God does, right? He
Yes,
brings that into your experience.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Even though you had aggressive cancer and with a 95% risk of recurrence, now you're getting that peace to help you go through.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Perhaps, and I'm dwelling on this because I'm learning from your experience. I wonder if you had insurance and you were doing you were going through your treatment and so forth, whether you would recognize the spiritual side of things. Who knows? But I feel like the double edge of the sword brought you to a point where you
Oh yeah.
again, yeah.
Oh yeah. Because what for me, again, I've always knew God, but sometimes God would do some things because he's been trying to get our attention
Yeah,
all the time.
all the
But
time.
he's a gentleman, so he's not gonna just come in if you don't let him come in. And
Mm.
so, I've always had my walls up. Was very prideful and stuff like that. So for me, this journey was where I needed to be. When it first started, I used to say, God, why me? Why me? But now I don't say that. I said, why not me? Because
Wow.
I am so thankful. I am so thankful because it has brought me to an intentional relationship with God. I'm not can't say that it wouldn't happen a year from now, whatever. But I can only put what I went through, that I put my total trust in him, and that I know that this journey has transformed me into being who I am now, a woman of God. And I'm not turning back. I'm going forward in him because how good he is. And even if he didn't do it, he still was good because we didn't deserve it. We don't deserve nothing that he do for us. So
From why not from being scared to why not me? That's something else. That's a transformation of life.
yes,
That's now focus. That's now a new perspective on life. And that's my question, which is given. I don't know why I'm asking you talking about it. How has your perspective on life changed since your diagnosis?
my perspective on life has changed. One, I'm well, I'll be 52 this year, but I found peace at 50. So my perspective is I know that I cannot do this thing without God. I know that every day that I wake up is a blessing from God. I know that without him I would not be here. So I put my total trust in him. I put my total faith in him. And I am going to open up my mouth and I'm going to share the goodness of God. I'm going to tell my testimony because I sometimes think people don't think that he's real or he's not in the business of healing or he's a provider. He's all that. So my perspective is everything is God. Everything is for me is just God. That's for me.
Who noticed you changed in attitude? Your provider? Did they? And who else?
My change as far as my attitude being better,
Yeah, I mean,
I can tell you, my daughter, when my daughter told
God.
me, she says, "Ma, I can see the change in you."
Mm,
She said, "I can see it because I was nothing to be played with. I was rough and tough, and my mouth, and I would say any and everything. But when that baby girl told me, Ma, I can see the change in you," I cried.
mm.
I cried because my children, what they think of me means everything. And for her, who sees me closely because she lives with me, because my son doesn't live with me, and so she sees me any day, every day, and she see the change.
So
I was on cloud nine.
you have been healed socially, spiritually. How about physically? Because there's research out there that says, people who pray uh, heals, experience healing. Faith helps with actual physical healing. And we're off the Bible. There are stories of God, Christ, healing people. But I'm asking, as you endure and go through the treatments and recovery after surgery, did you find that your faith helped you physically?
Yes, because if I didn't have faith, I would crumble because the things I go through on a monthly basis.
Mm,
When I wake up, I'm in pain. So no matter if I wake up in pain, no matter what shots I gotta get, no matter what infusions I have to get, my faith is keeping me because I know that God is a healer. I Even though I'm going through it, I'm healed.
yeah,
I'm healed because
yeah,
how I know that God is faithful. And
right,
so I have to hold on to his word, and his word never changes. And
yeah.
so my faith keeps me, because if I didn't have it, like I told you before, in 2003, I feel like I almost lost my mind. So yeah,
Yeah, you don't you're not completely healed physically, but your faith helped you to get there, and you have that
absolutely,
perspective going forward. Yeah,
absolutely.
nice. Thanks for sharing a little
No,
on
you're
your
welcome. You're
your
welcome.
faith experiences. You know, how has you've ticked off all my questions. I want to say that, with how you were telling your story. But what keeps you motivated today? I know you talk about your faith. I know that's what keeps you going. Anything else? Your
So
family?
two two things keep me motivated. Of course, I'm gonna do the will of God, but I talked to God when I was going through chemo, and I told God, I said, God, please let me see my daughter graduate. And I said, God, let me see some grandchildren. My daughter graduates in May,
I like that.
and I think she's getting ready to be engaged. So
Wow, nice.
hopefully I can have some grandbabies, because me and God talked, and I told him, I said, God, because I didn't even want to be healed for me. I wanted to be healed for my children. And I said, those were my two main things. I said, God, please let me see my daughter graduate.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see some grandbabies. So,
And we're prophesying her engagement here, right? So it's
yes, yes,
it's
we
going to
are, because
happen.
I need her to get married so she can give me some grandbabies. I don't want her to do what I did. I need her to do it right.
Yes. What's her name again? I'm forgetting right
Shamaya,
here. Shemaya. I
Shamaya.
hope you're
Yes,
hearing all this. I know it brings you a
yes,
smile.
yes.
That's great. We you now have this long-term perspective on life. You want to see your grandchildren. You want to see them grow up. That's beautiful. So what advice would you offer to others who may be navigating their own battles? You've said a lot of things. You've alluded to a lot of things, but can you bring it together here?
Well, for me, I would say, one, you have to be very be an advocate for your own health, because a lot of things I learned through my journey. And so even though if a doctor tells you something, do your own research. Make sure what they're telling you is something that's going to benefit you. And also, when it comes to your personal, like your own health overall, you have to be mindful of what's going on. And I will always say, keep God first, because whenever you feel like you can't do it, He's going to push you along the way. And when you can't truly do it, He's going to carry you along the way. But
Right.
my main thing is to be an advocate for yourself, because even though you have doctors, they don't know everything. What works for one patient may not work for a different patient. And sometimes they just do a generalized this. I learned so many things. And so be an advocate and keep God first.
Can you speak to your sisters, as in fellow
Absolutely.
African American sisters and others?
Absolutely. Sister,
Yeah.
sister, 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 sister. This healthcare system is not designed for us. And so, with that being said, they're going to treat us, they're going to deal with us, but you have to be your own advocate. Try for me, and I'm not trying to say anybody is better than the other, but I try to maintain my doctors that look like me, so I know they understand me. And so when something doesn't sit well with you, if you have any doctor, any type of doctor, and it doesn't sit well, God give us that. Then you need to question it. Do not be afraid to open your mouth. And if you find that that particular doctor or doctors are not giving you the best care, then you need to go somewhere else
Right.
because your health, you only get one life. So you definitely need to make sure that you are presenting yourself, making sure that you're well educated in whatever situation you're going through, but also you have to make sure that you are your number one advocate. You have to be,
Right.
sisters.
Yeah. How about the sisters in their 40s who are very strong and life is going well? They need to stop and check. They need to check themselves too, right?
Well, when I was first diagnosed, it was like 48 years old, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm 48. I'm like, that's young, but in the world of cancer, that's young. So I wouldn't even say women in 40. I will start with my women in
Yeah.
30. I
Much
have met
earlier.
so many women young in their 30s and they're dead. They're in their 30s, they're dead. So let's start at 30s. So I would tell my sisters, you have to do a routine check. You have to check monthly, monthly. And also, if you feel something or something does not feel right, do not wait because these cancers are very aggressive. They're
Mm.
not just saying, okay, whatever. No, they're moving very fast. So if you feel something not right, then you need to go get it checked right away. But you want to make sure you are doing your routine check monthly because again, that's what saved my life. Not no mammogram and not no ultrasound. I felt it. And my cancer was moving very fast. So I want to speak to just my sisters in the 40s. I'm starting with y'all in y'all 30s too. Because when I go to the hospital and do treatment, they there. The 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah. It knows no bounds, no age
No.
limit, no
Mm-mm.
color.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No. But when it
Oh,
comes to African Americans, I feel that the treatment, how do I want to say this? I don't feel like all the treatments are specifically for us. So therefore, you have to make sure whatever doctor you're going to understands, who you are, what your situation is, and if it doesn't sit well in your spirit, it's for a reason.
it's true. It's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this: who were Tylenol tested on African American women,
Yep.
you know, who were, the other medications, common medications for cold and headache tested on. The point you're making is educate yourself and try to understand what you've been offered and
Right.
tell your physician and your providers how you feel it in your body so they can understand you better.
Right. Google is free, even though they say you don't supposed to use Google, but Google is good. So Google can be good
Google
and
is good.
bad. So when you have something that, like certain things, I after my appointments and I don't cry, nod and everything, I would call my mom and like, Mom, okay, what did they say? They said this. Then I would start Googling it to see
Right.
what that mean, like what type of cancer, like why she says aggressive, why is this, whatever. I didn't diagnose myself because that's the problem. We diagnose ourselves. But since I'm already, now I need to understand what does that mean? And how can I do this? And then of course a healthy lifestyle. I don't eat meat. I don't drink sodas. I don't eat fast food. I don't do any of those things. Oh, another thing, ladies, if you are going through a situation that's heavy, then you need to really take somebody because sometimes when the information is so
Mm.
heavy, you miss things. So my mom was my ear because had it not been for my mom, I would have missed a lot. So if it's something that's really heavy, make sure you can take somebody if you can.
Well, cancer is as heavy as it can get.
Oh, heavy,
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah. You've shared quite a bit, and thank you for being vulnerable on this platform.
You're
And there are
welcome.
many things you've shared that are so valuable to so many people who this will resonate with. Is there anything that you thought I might have asked that I haven't?
Um, hmm.
And you were just going to have a
Well,
conversation, right?
I would say this, that when you are diagnosed or when you're going through something major, because I lost friends along the way, because I didn't share my story in a timely manner that they felt that I should have felt should have shared it. I also lost friends because I was deeply depressed, because you also, well, I can't say for other people, for me I was depressed really really bad. So what I would say to anyone that's around someone or family member or loved one that's going through something such as cancer, be patient.
Yeah.
Be patient. Don't take everything, well, she not answering the phone, or I called her and she don't want to talk. I don't. I'm losing my mind. I am feeling like I'm about to die. The medicine makes me feel bad. I feel like I gotta throw up. I feel like I can't eat. And so my thing too, I would say, is to be patient. It's not about you, it's about the person that's going through it. And whatever emotions they feel that day, allow them grace. Because I lost a lot of friends because I didn't want to talk. I kind of isolated well, God isolated me, but you isolate yourself because it's a lot that you're going through.
It is.
So,
It
yeah,
is.
I would tell people to give people grace and
Yeah.
don't judge.
And don't judge. I'm sure many of those friends will see this video and understand better what you're saying. But that is true. You know, your body turned on you, and you were going through a rough time, but you
And not
found
only, I
strength.
didn't mean to cut you off because chemo
No, you're
brain,
good.
not only did my body, I lost my income on top of battling a life threatening thing. I don't have a husband. I don't have no rich little boo or whatever,
Yeah.
that could be like, okay, honey, you could stay home
Yeah.
and don't worry about it. So not only did I lose my only income, I'm battling. So it was overwhelming to me. It was a lot. And so I just, yeah, so you have to give people grace. You
Yeah.
have to give people grace.
Okay. Right. And I thank you for what you've shared. Thank you for this conversation. And I look forward perhaps to another conversation because you're still on your journey. And I
I
wish you
am.
all the best and healing as you go forward. I want to say quickly to the audience that visit our website as noted here, cultivatehealthnarratives.com. If you want to share your story, as you've listened to Par's story today, it's really just a friendly conversation, and many will learn from what you have to share. Thank you, Par, and
Thank you so
God bless
much.
you,
Thank you.
and we'll stay in touch.
Yes, and I thank you for this platform. And yes, I look forward to many more engagements with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Health Stories podcast. The conversation doesn't end here. Visit cultivatehealthnarratives.com for past episodes and resources. Listen on all major podcast platforms. Subscribe and follow.